Item number 3 in your package, councilors, is the addition to the agenda. You have that in your, is there any additions to the agenda at this time? Hearing none, I would ask for approval of the agenda. Can I have a mover?
Sure, I'll move the approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councillor Durkee. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Allen. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Item number 5 is a declaration of any conflict of interest. If any councillor sees any conflict, if they could declare it now. If not, at the time of the discussion. If you feel there is a conflict, please let it be known or stated. Item number 6, presentations, and there is no presentations this evening. Item number 7 would be the approval of the minutes of April 22nd and May 13th Committee of the Whole. Can I have somebody move those?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of April 22nd, 2020, and the regular council meeting minutes, and the May 13th, 2020 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
Been moved by Councillor Cushing. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Durkee. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded, motion carried. Item number 8, business arising from the minutes. 8.1 is the recommendations from the May 13th Committee of the Whole meeting, which was just approved. 8.1.1, consumers insurance rates. That had been brought forward by Councillor Cunningham at the May 13th Committee of the Whole, and there was discussion there. Was there any further discussion or concerns of council? There was a motion made, was there not? Yes.
It was.
The letter was forwarded, Mr. Warden.
Yes. So I didn't know if Councillor Cunningham had any more concerns or questions pertaining to that.
No, other than I'll just repeat the purpose of the letter for the viewing audience. The purpose of the letter was sent off primarily to the superintendent of insurance, who's within the Department of Finance, and it was just a letter asking that all car insurers or all people who subscribe to car insurance in Nova Scotia be given some sort of a common treatment, no matter who your insurer is within the province of Nova Scotia. People are busy. COVID-19 is, definitely interfering substantially with people's lives, and it's very, very arduous to contact your insurance company and look at your policy and see how it is that rates might be reduced and so forth. The insurers, because there have been many, many less kilometers traveled in cars because of stay-at-home practices. Generally speaking, it's believed that insurers should get everybody insurance reduction during this time. So that was the purpose of the letter. Thank you, Mr. Ward.
Thank you. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none. 8.1.2, draft council orientation and training policy 0-088-20. That was discussed at our May 13th meeting. And Victoria, if you can correct me, was there a motion just to recommend that to council meeting?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. So the motion from Committee of the Whole is to recommend that policy to council for approval.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
I think Trevor was before me. So
Oh,
go
okay.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, it doesn't matter. I'll move that the Municipality District of Yarmouth approve the council orientation training policy 0-088 20.
Okay, Counselor Durkee, you second it? Okay, moved by Counselor Cunningham, seconded by Counselor Durkee. Was there any further discussion on the orientation 0-088-20 policy, orientation policy? Counselor Cunningham, Deputy Warden, go ahead.
No, I have nothing, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I apologize. If there's no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. 8.1.3, Draft Technology Policy T-084-20. You had that in your package, and that was also discussed at your May 13th Committee of the Whole meeting. What is your wishes at this time? And that was, I think it was recommended. Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
I'll make a motion that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth accept the council termination. Try that again. Council Technology Policy T-084-20 as shown.
Councillor Allen, you seconded that? Moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion on that policy?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I would much prefer that we defer a decision on this motion that's on the floor until the next council meeting. There's still a few questions that I have in regards to the use of cell phones and the use of cell phones with dual SIM. I'd like to get a legal opinion on that first. I never asked this question to Raymond, so I don't want to spring that question on him, but I also want to talk to a couple of my colleagues that have technology packages and things like that. I have no problem with anything else in the technology package policy. But I do have it boils down to I can't see how I'm going to manage two phones. And that's the reason why. But if council wishes to proceed on this motion, and we do not defer it, I'm also fine with that, but I still have a few problems with the way it's written in that regard.
Is there any discussion on that? Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Mr. Chair, why don't I hear what the other Councillor Cunningham is saying? Why don't we move forward with this? And if there is something that we can do in terms of, and we've discussed this a little bit, if there is something that we can do in terms of amending the policy to make it easier for John to use the technology, that type of thing, in the future, we could certainly do it if it's prudent to do so in the future. So my opinion is that we move forward with approving the policy tonight, and we can dig into it, and we can always make a motion to amend it if it's prudent in the future, as I've said before. Thank you.
Thank you. CAO, go ahead.
The recommendation from Committee of the Whole, Mr. Chair, required a couple of amendments to this policy between Committee of the Whole and Council, and those have been included. And I would point out that the policy does allow for accommodations based on a particular elected official's needs. So to Councillor Trevor Cunningham's point, if there's no legal issues with, one device and two SIM cards, and that's something that a particular official needs for whatever reason, then I think the policy is worded in such a way that that could be accommodated.
Okay. Okay. Was there any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Actually, I'm quite happy with the answer that the CAO had given, and what Councillor Trevor Cunningham had mentioned, that we could always go back, and if this technology package is not working, we also must remember that this is for the new council coming in.
Yes.
So that if it doesn't work at that time, whoever remains on council or new councillors, then they certainly can go back and look into this. But I'd like to thank the CAO and Councillor Trevor Cunningham for their donations.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Warden. Was there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Back in here. 8.1.4. The ARC request for tax relief of commercial property tax. You had that discussion at the May 20 or May 13th meeting. What is the wishes of council? Councillor Trevor Cunningham, go ahead.
Right, I'll move that the municipality of district approve the application for relief of commercial property tax for the Arcadia property, for the Arcadia property.
I'll second that.
Okay, been moved by
I'll second.
Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Christian. Just before we move on to the CAO, in his motion, does he need to state the policy number or the reduction bylaw policy, or should he, or is?
Sure, it would actually be better if the motion on the floor at council read as the recommendation from committee of the whole. So if you click on the link for the committee of the whole recommendations, the motion is there, which would provide your policy name and number along with the PID number.
Do you have that, Trevor?
Um,
Not like in stating that, because I know.
oh, sorry, we've got one of those that isn't linked. We've got to go back to the committee of the whole meetings. But,
No, it's linked on the council agenda. Recommendations from committee of the whole, there's a document linked to that title.
Do you see it? They're just on the link.
So I will read the bylaw into the motion.
Yeah.
The bylaws T-083-01, and it's for the commercial property tax, Arcadia property located at 10177 Highway 3 Arcadia. There's not a PID number there, but there is the address.
Is the PIN number there, Victoria?
Well, it's in the original motion, and I'll read it into the record, and if it's agreeable to the mover and seconder,
Yeah.
it can be included. So the
Thank you.
PID number is 90333-832.
That was in it. Does the mover and the seconder agree with the PIN number to be in the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to ask Liz to reread the motion, but you all understand the motion, which one it is. Excuse me. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
Thank you. By us agreeing to this motion, it means that the YARC would still pay taxes, but they would be at, and correct me if I'm wrong, they would be at a property, not commercial property, they would be at a personal property rate. Am I correct?
Yes.
That's right. They would be taxed at the residential rate as opposed to the commercial rate.
Residential.
And it's
Thank you very
right.
much. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Was there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Motion carried. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
there are 3 other recommendations to council included in that linked document that need to be approved by council tonight. There weren't separate documents for them, so they're not itemized separately.
Okay.
So we've got to ratify the appointment of the auditors, the appointment of the solicitor, and the appointment of the municipal crier.
Okay. Yes, just a second. I do have those.
So if you click on the link for 8.1, councilors, that summarization of all the recommendations is a document that's linked there, and those motions are available to you there.
So could I start this off by making a motion that we accept Grant Thornton as our municipal auditors for the municipality of the District of Yarmouth for 2021?
Been moved by Councillor Allen for our municipal auditor, Grant Thornton. Do we have a seconder? seconded by Councillor Durkee. Was there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded, motion carried.
I would also like to make a motion that we appoint Raymond Jackard of Nickerson Jackard Fraser as our municipal solicitor for the 2020-2021.
Been moved by Councillor Allen. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Cushion. Was there any further discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. And the third one, go ahead.
I'd also like to make a motion to council for the appointment of David Oley as municipal crier for the municipality of the District of Yarmouth for 2020-2021.
Been moved by Councillor Allen. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Durkee. Was there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Trying to keep myself straight here with my paperwork. I didn't realize how valuable Liz was or is, to keep me organized. What I tell you. Okay, that's all of those. 8.2. Letter from NSFM to the province per municipal consultation on post-COVID-19 reopening. You have that in your package, councillors. It was a letter that was sent from NSFM President Mayor Mood pertaining to when the province opened up parks and so on, and trails and so on, without first consulting with municipal units, because that was announced, CAO, you can correct me, I think like on Friday afternoon, was it, or Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock to be open for the weekend, was it not? This was a couple of weeks ago. And it gave no warning to municipal units. So the letter was, as you read, was basically stating if the province was going to be doing anything of this nature that directly affected municipal units, that they wanted to be part of the consultation in order to move forward because of time frames, et cetera, that they were putting back onto municipal units. And I guess Councillor Durkee or Victoria, you might be able to elaborate a little more on the letter. Councillor Durkee, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. A number of letters have been going in contact between NSFM and the province with regards to moving forward with reopening. There was an announcement today. I'm not sure if everybody heard the announcement today, but June the 5th is the date that the province gave today for opening of a lot of businesses with the health restrictions still applying. NSFM wasn't really consulted on that yet again, and there's a letter going in draft form about the fact that there has been a lack of consultation, and we're supposed to be a partnership between the two. That being said, last week we had a really good discussion with Dr. Strang, who was on the line for about an hour, who was answering a lot of questions, and he heard us loud and clear that there are certain aspects that where we need to be consulted. With the business side, no, we weren't really heard again. However, that being said, also that the government also announced some funding to small businesses in the amount of $5,000 to be used however they so desire, and additional infrastructure amount that the province had declared. So they're looking at doing some projects that they had put on the back burner, and certainly some of the transportation issues in their capital building. Now, whether or not there's any money for our Mariner Center is something that we need to ask. So where we're going from here is we were still asking for money, grants to businesses. So they have come out with something for that. And the other issue continues to be the election. And there was a survey that was done. Now, I'm not sure if everybody got the email. It did go into junk, where they were asking for a survey, or if you felt there should be a delay in the election, and there's many reasons why a lot of people feel there should be. So the actual result of the survey was due, which was due May 26th, was at 70% of those surveyed, and there were about 200 people that responded, felt that there should be a delay in the election. So that will be taken back to the Premier. And the
Interrupt you there,
minister.
Councillor Durkee.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's we have some discussion on that 10.2.2 on the fall election from NSFM, and I don't
Okay.
want to get ahead of ourselves. I
Oh.
appreciate the
I'm
information.
on a roll. What can I say?
Yeah, you know, no, I appreciate that, but
Okay. So, but yes, so that's where we are. You know, we have a lot of people have very mixed feelings on how well that the province has really collaborated with the municipalities.
okay.
But
On that
Yes.
note, I don't want
Any
to, yes,
questions?
Victoria, if you could give us kind of what that meant for the municipalities across the province and for our municipality when that announcement was made and caught us off guard.
Sure, right. So the impact of announcements being made, which impact municipal operations without collaborating with municipalities, varies from municipality to municipality, and it depends on what the loosening of a restriction is. So the opening up of municipal parks was very problematic. First of all, a lot of municipalities had their staff laid off. They weren't even working. The public perception was that they could use municipal recreation trails and parks, with the exception of playgrounds, and municipal staff weren't even available, to get them open. Now, in the District of Yarmouth, we were lucky. Our team mobilized very quickly, and by bedtime that night, they did have our trails and parks open. But that is by and large due to the scale and scope of our infrastructure that was included in that announcement. And the AMA and the NSFM have almost on a daily basis communicated on this theme to the province. And, we really haven't seen any change in the attitude or in the province's stance on this. I was on an AMA board meeting call today, and we're aware of the fact that Dr. Strang and the province continue to meet with associations and are developing plans and making decisions based on what associations are telling them, as opposed to working with the CAOs and the mayor's wardens. And so, for example, I know that conversations are being had with hockey associations, soccer associations, ball associations about getting those activities back on the docket. But there's been no conversation with the owners of those facilities who would be making them available to those associations. So I think Councillor Durkee's quite right. The important message tonight is that municipal government is working hard to get to the table and to be heard, but we're not being heard. And so what our citizens need to understand is, if there's an announcement made at a provincial press conference and a given municipality is not able to accommodate that announcement, it's largely because they didn't know it was coming. And so, we're asking for patience and grace on the part of our residents while we try to adapt and move along with the changes, because everything is just so fluid.
Yeah.
Councillor Durkee, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to add correctly, our CAO is correct. We weren't even considered as stakeholders. There was a PowerPoint presentation done by Dr. Strang, and municipalities weren't even included. And I think we made it loud and clear that that's a necessity. And hopefully going forward on those issues that would affect us, that we will be heard. and part of that conversation.
Was there any further discussion from any counselors on that? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to 8.3, the Municipal Planning Strategy Amendments. This is the second reading. And I guess I would ask the CAO and Jenny and Morris, has there been any other information come forward from the public on any of these?
No, there has not.
Okay, Jenny? CAO?
Nope.
Nothing. Morris, you haven't been contacted?
No, there's been nothing that I'm aware of, Warden.
No. And I think Mr. Devine is on the line too, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yeah,
Roger.
I am, and I have not been contacted by anyone.
Okay, thank you. So I guess at this point, to the CAO, do we need to go into any details, or is it just, this is the second reading, no questions, a motion to approve it, second reading, and that is automatic, that automatically goes from there?
Right. So if it's approved at second reading, then we send the package off to the province and they have to do their due diligence with it because there are planning documents. So there's a process involved with the Department of Planning at DMAH. So it's a motion to approve second reading of each one of those documents, and then we're off.
Okay. Was there any discussion from council on any of the municipal planning strategy at this time? Deputy Warden, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since we're going to be possibly approving the second reading, I'd like to put a motion on the floor for discussion. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the second reading of the amendment of Section 12 of the Municipal Planning Strategy to include a policy to require the developer to convey to the municipality for public use 5% of the developed land shown on the final plan of subdivision, other equivalent land, or equivalent cash in lieu based on the assessment value of the developed land.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Warden. John Cunningham, do we have a seconder for the motion?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Cushion. Was there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I have a second motion I'd like to make for the amendment of the subdivision bylaw.
Yeah, 8.4, go ahead, Deputy Warden.
All right. I'll move that council approve the second reading of the subdivision bylaw S-0810-20.
Been moved by the Deputy Warden, John Cunningham. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Cushion. Was there any further discussion on any of those? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I'd like to make a quick public statement. People may see that I'm going on and offline. My internet's very slow, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to turn my video off because everybody is cutting out when you're talking. So I'm still here, but I'm just...
Okay. No problem, Deputy Warden. Appreciate that. Item number 9, new business. 9.1, CAO report. You have that in your package. It's quite an in-depth report. I know a lot of people sometimes think because you're not open for business, or not, I shouldn't say not open for business, that you're not open, that things are a little easier and you're not doing as much. Well, you see by the report from your CAO, she's been very active, very busy, and as the rest of the staff, don't get me wrong, but it's quite a lengthy report and a lot of good detail in there and so on, information. So is there any question from any councillor on her report? Go ahead, Councillor Cushion.
I never really seen it on the report, but I know that we decided on our facilities that we maintain that we're going to do minimum maintenance to them, and I'm just wondering how that is going, number one. And number two, I don't know the proper wording or the proper language to use for these people who work for us during the summertime as summer workers for the maintenance of our facilities and whatnot. Have they all been notified that they won't be working this summer, or will they be working at a later date?
Okay. So the first part of your question is around level of service and maintenance on our facilities. And we have two teams that do that. We have a team that works in the recreation department. We have a team that works in the public works department. So under the recreation department, we have brought back our two regular casual employees. And we are doing levels of service that keep the assets in reasonable condition, but not necessarily ready for play. So soccer pitches and ball fields, for example, are being mowed, but they're not necessarily being mowed to the level or any lines being painted. Under the public works, it's our boulevards on our sidewalks, our administration building, the business park, Cape for Shoe. So what's happened is that we have not brought on any summer staff in the public works department as of yet. We do have a vacant position, which we are moving to fill in the short order. We had began that process before COVID-19, so we'll be finishing it. And then we were approved under the Canada Summer Jobs Grant for one summer student for public works, and we will be filling that. So once we have a complete team level there, we'll be moving to our regular levels of service with respect to maintenance out of the public works department.
Okay, well, our summertime employees that we have on a regular basis every year, the ones who are not working, have they been notified that they won't be working? That was my question.
We're under no obligation. Well, so there's no commitment made by the municipality from year to year that anybody will automatically come back for their job. It's at the call of the municipality. So anybody who, for whatever reason, had received an offer to come back this summer and isn't coming back this summer knows that.
Okay, so some of the employees that we have that haven't been notified, they won't be coming back. I think it's just a common courtesy to let them know, especially if they're expecting or thinking that they'll be coming back and haven't been notified. I think.
Well, due respect, Councillor.
It feels a bit of common courtesy to let these individuals know, no, you're not coming back, or not this year, maybe next year, or whatnot. That's my thought.
Okay. Was there any further discussion then on the CAO report? Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is through you to our CAO. Is there any plan I guess, everything's last minute, to open up any of the facilities at Cape for Shoe, like the restaurant, and is that a thought? Or are we taking a pass for this year and waiting till next year? Or is that decision not been made yet?
Well, it's our hope that we'll be able to develop a business continuity plan that adheres to the public health directives. So I will be meeting with our private sector vendors who would like to operate out there to see if we can develop a protocol which will abide by the provincial requirements. So if we can't develop something that will allow those public health requirements to be met, we may not be able to do it. My hope is we'll find a way to do it.
Thank you.
Any further questions or information-wise? Hearing none, then can I have a motion to accept?
Trevor had his hand.
Pardon me?
Trevor had his hand.
Oh, did he?
Trevor had his hand.
Okay.
Yeah. No worries. It was just, I was just going to make a motion that we receive the CAO's report.
Okay, thank you very much. Been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Allen. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Reminded, motion carried. 9.2, April Development Report. You had that in your package, Councillor, and I was impressed compared to last year's, or I guess bang on target and so on. It looked all right. So I need, if there isn't any discussion, go ahead, CAO.
So the Western Regional Enterprise Network actually sent around a survey to the CAOs last week asking for questions on the activity in our various development departments. So once we get the summary from the region, I'll be sure to share it anecdotally with council. But there seems to be a feeling out there that consumer confidence is high enough that generally speaking, there's a fairly good level of investment in real property.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I see most contractors seem to be busy doing things. I'm not saying they're, I have one of the contractors at this time of year, it would be 7:30 before I'd see his trucks going home. Well, I see him going home a little earlier now, but they're every day they're outgoing. So, I mean, they are staying busy. There is some work going on. But. So on that note, if there's no further, Councillor Allen?
No, I would just like to make a motion that we accept the development report as circulated.
Okay. Been moved by Councillor Allen. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Durkee. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 10, correspondence. 10.1.1. It's for action, letter from the Nova Scotia Department of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal, the 3-year cost-sharing agreement for subdivision streets. It's quite a lengthy report, so go ahead, Victoria.
So Mr. Warden, thank you. This is the standard agreement that we renew. There's been no change to our cost sharing ratio on the J-class roads and streets. So it's something that we have to renew every 3 years with the province. So my recommendation is that you approve the agreement and allow me to sign off on it and send it back in.
So you've heard the information. Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Right, I'll move that we, Municipality District of Yarmouth, approve the 3-year cost share agreement for subdivision streets with the province, and the document's been circulated, so it's circulated.
Okay. Been moved. Councillor Allen, you second it? Been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. 10.2, letter from Minister Porter, property tax deferment program. You had that in your package, and I am going to apologize to council. I did not read that at this time, up to this time, though. I'll have to hand it off. It's in your package, and I guess I'll go to you, Victoria. What were they asking? I'm completely oblivious to that one.
So they're just in there for information, and they relate to the programs that the NSFM has negotiated on our behalf with the province. So on the tax deferral piece, it's really around the lack of consultation, and the program that we got is not exactly what we were looking for. It references consultation, it references to the costs, and for example, NSFM respectfully challenges Minister Porter's suggestion that municipalities can easily conduct, I think I'm reading the right one. Let me just double check here. Oh, sorry, there we go. So lack of consultation, the costs around, I think there might be a mistake in the links, Liz. I think you've got the same letter linked twice.
I never opened it up, so I apologize.
Just let me quickly double check.
I have it.
So
correct.
as all of council is aware, but I'm not sure if our residents are aware, you know, there's a, oh, that's the response. Okay, so one letter is the response. Municipalities were approved to borrow from the Municipal Finance Corporation if they were providing a tax payment plan, not a deferral plan, but a tax repayment financing plan to residential or commercial property holders who suffered significant financial loss due to COVID-19.
That's right.
So the document is just the response from the minister back to Ms. Spencer with respect to that program.
Okay. So it's nothing for us to do other than to just that we received it as information.
That's right. Yep. And it's part of our official record.
Okay. Did I understand it because Patty, you can refresh my mind. It was one of the Wednesday night discussions at NSFM Zoom meeting, was it not? That it's a plan, not a deferral, and so on. Okay, yeah, now I remember.
Right, because according to the MGA, they are not allowed to do a tax deferral.
Right.
So that's when they came up with this loan program. And my understanding now is that it's not just available to be used for those individuals who are having a difficulty paying their taxes. It can be used for whatever we deem necessary.
Yeah. Okay. 10.2.2 then, letter from NSFM, financial support for the fall municipal election. You had that in your package. It was a letter, again, that went from NSFM President Mayor Mood to the Premier Stephen McNeil pertaining to the call of the municipal fall election that, again, municipal units and NSFM were not consulted on the province making that decision to move forward. And they're looking for some, would I be right, Victoria, saying some financial assistance because municipal units may now have to set up the polling stations in a different way so that people feel comfortable. There may be different ways of voting and so on. Is that what they're looking for?
Well, that's it. And, you know, each municipality is in a slightly different situation depending on what type of election they run. If they run a traditional election or an electronic election or a hybrid. And so the notion is that, you know, elections are going to go ahead on October 17th. But whether your costs are associated with doing what you've always done, but a higher level of care required in order to do that, in terms of paper ballots at a polling station, or maybe you have to change the way you run your elections altogether. So for example, if this council was to say, you know, for the safety of the public, we want to offer electronic voting, we would have to move pretty swiftly. There would be procurement involved for us. There would be probably higher than normal legal fees because we would have a bylaw that we would have to move through the process pretty quickly. So I think the notion is that if the elections are going forward, they're likely to cost more because of the COVID situation and because the province decided that they would go forward, that the province should provide some sort of financial support for the incremental extra costs associated with COVID.
Councillor Durkee, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to add that people may not understand is that our, you know, in a rural community, our costs are much less than in some of the HRM and CBRM. They're looking at least $300,000 to run an election in their area. And the way that Minister Porter spoke to us was, well, you should find a different, you know, you're going to have to find alternate ways to run your election. But yet, you know, if we should get a second wave, you know, we have to make we may have to make a decision to not run the election. And so there are some areas saying, look, we can't afford to do that. We can't afford to have everything in place and pay all this money out and then at the last minute decide that we can't go forward. So, for us, it may be smaller, but other areas are suffering greatly or will suffer with that. There are a lot of issues with the election, and if you know we can't go forward and knock on doors, which at this point we can't, There's the idea also too that, you know, okay, we can phone people, but today a lot of people have cell phones and we have no access to phone numbers to get in touch with everybody. There's the issue with taking people to and from the election, so to vote. So there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, or a lot of thought has to go into this. And NSFM felt that the decision was made very quickly without a lot of thought going into it. So there's continued discussion, particularly with Dr. Strang, who now recognizes the importance to give it more thought, especially since the thought is that, you know, we probably will have a second wave of COVID. And if we do, at the summer's end or soon or whatever, then that's going to put people in a very difficult position. Other parts of the discussion that go with that is, you know, a new council coming in at a time where we're dealing with recovery would be very challenging. No one was commented, oh, it's just that the counselors there now want to extend their job, and like, no, everybody's like, no, you know, that's not at all the issue. The issue is health and safety for people and experience, and making sure that everybody has an opportunity to run who wants to. The whole democratic process needs to be followed, and candidates must, and our residents must feel safe, that so that, you know, when we move forward, it's okay.
Well, I must say, the letter put forward by the President Mayor Mood in NSFM to the Premier, I thought was a real good letter. It was a five-page letter, and it detailed a lot of things. And as you just mentioned, if there was a second wave, nomination day is, I believe, sometime in September, the 1st of September. And if we ended up with a second wave, I'll say the second week of September, that changes a lot of things for a lot of people, and the cost and so on, and move forward. The other thing is, last election in 2016, it stated there was 23 municipal units that used electronic voting, which is fine. But as the deputy warden can attest, he's not on video this evening. He can only be on audio because of the rural internet. That is in a big part of rural Nova Scotia. So electronic voting in some areas and so on would just not be able to do. So there was a lot of issues, and I don't think that the government itself took the time to sit down and just have a real hard discussion with municipal units through NSFM on whether they should or shouldn't. And it's a shame that, I'll say it, Big Brother does not listen to the units that it's playing with. You know, it's just not always fair. But I will commend the letter that went from NSFM to Stephen McNeil. Was a real good letter. I thought it really hit point. Go ahead.
For interest's sake, how many of you actually replied to the survey or saw the survey?
I did.
Okay, good. Good. So at least we know some people. And was it in your junk? Did you have to pull it out of the junk mail? No?
Nope.
Okay.
No, mine was there on NSFM. Go ahead, Victoria.
Just a couple of things that are also important to add. So the notion of electronic voting does include telephone voting by landline. So, you know, it's not, I don't want anybody to think that just because we say electronic, it can only be, you know, with a cell phone or through the internet. And then the other piece too, and I think it's okay to share this, the NSFM has decided that their correspondence on the issues related to COVID-19 and municipal operations are no longer going to go to Minister Porter. I think it's been agreed that all the correspondence will go directly to Premier McNeil and or Dr. Strang.
Okay, that's good. Raymond, did I see your hand up? Did you? No, okay, sorry. Okay, that was for your information, councillors. Item number 11 then, if there's no further discussion on the letter. Committee of the Public Accounts and Finance. Oh, Lord. Oh, excuse me. 11.1, budget information from Service Nova Scotia in municipal relations.
So
Yeah.
as you'll see, Mr. Warden, the information submission is not complete this year. I've attached the email that Greg and I received from the department. And so we've yet to receive our amount for the gas tax. We have yet to receive the amount for our equalization. But the details on our contribution to education at just over $2.2 million, corrections at almost $137,000, roads at $81,500 are there. So there's two key pieces that are missing, and as soon as we receive them from the province, we'll make sure that we share that through council.
Okay. Was there any questions on that? Hearing none, we'll move on. 11.2, presentation and approval of the operating budget rates, residential and commercial and resource for 2020-21. And I believe, who's going to carry that?
The Director of Finance is with us, Mr.
Yeah. Then I guess it goes to Mr. Shea. Good evening, sir.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll take you through this part of the agenda if you like, and we'll walk through the high-level numbers of the budget, and then we'll hopefully have it passed so we can move forward with the rest of our operating year. Just going to read off the numbers to you that are in the budget column of documents you received earlier, draft documents for some of the subcategories that build up the entire budget. So starting in the revenue, in the tax section, so the budget numbers are this for the tax section is total assessable property budget number is $10,098,905. Special assessment budget number is $266,037. Business property revenues are budgeted at $248,017. Other taxes are $131,531. So the total taxable revenue budget section of the revenue side of the budget is $10,744,490. Now, in the non-taxation section of the revenue portion of our operating budget, total grants in lieu of taxes is budgeted at $32,400. Services to other governments is $411,506. Revenue from other sources, other revenue from own sources is budgeted at $599,950. Unconditional transfers from other governments, $151,371. Conditional transfers from other governments, $503,500. And other transfers and transfers from reserves is $633,333. So the total amount for the non-taxable section of our revenue budget, or the non-tax revenues, is $2,332,080. And so if you total those two together, the total budgeted revenues in our operating budget for this year are $13,076,550.
Was there any questions, if I may, any questions from Councillor on any of those numbers up to this point? Okay, carry on, Greg.
So then I'll proceed on the expenditure side of our operating budget, and I'll go through the categories there. Starting at general government services, the legislative number is $341,980. General administration is $1,087,402. Financial management, $65,250. Taxation, $356,728. Other general government services is $308,035, which brings the total to general government services to $2,159,395. I think there was a question.
Any questions?
There is, if I may.
Go ahead, Councillor Drew.
Greg, could we just review some of the expenditures included in general administrative and other government services, general government services?
Sure.
Thank you.
The general administrative is $1,087,402. The largest number there is salaries and benefits at $795,715. There's a retired clerk's pension of $12,673. There's a number of typical office administrative items in there, but the larger one beyond those is the operations of the administration building itself, which are $157,100. There's computer expenses of $27,230. I'm not sure how level of detail you want to go into,
No, this is great, thanks.
but those are the larger numbers in that category.
Okay. And other general government
Other
services?
general government services. Some of the larger ones in that category are your grants to organizations this year, which is $158,047. Expenditures for the lighthouse operation, Cape Fichu, was $69,486. And property and liability insurance would be the other larger one in that category of $38,998. And elections is also in that section at $26,000. That makes up your $308,035 that's in other general government services.
Thank you.
Was there anybody else that had questions up to this point? Hearing none, carry on, Greg.
Okay, next we'll go to protective services. Protective services, essentially RCP corrections, comes to $1,176,798. Fire protection is $1,164,603. Emergency measures is $42,060. Other protective services, which is inspections and development, is $300,698. And animal and pest control is $29,745. So the total for the protective services section of the operating expenditure budget for the year is $2,713,904. I'll keep going until I get interrupted with questions. Transportation services, road transportation, $625,777. Street lighting, $57,157. Public works operations, $421,345. So the total transportation and public works is $1,104,279,000. And environmental services, we have sewage collection and disposal at $1,102,230. And we have public health and welfare at $192,781. So the total for the public health and safety environmental services is, sorry, let's me back up.
Councilor Durkee has a question, Greg.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm full of questions today. So would the amount given to the community navigator position come into that section, public health and welfare?
Senior safety?
Mm-hmm.
You
Not
mean?
senior safety, the $20,000 per year for the community navigator position.
To the
For
Chamber of
doctor
Commerce.
recruitment.
Oh, that's in yes, I'm sorry, yeah, that's in the public health and welfare, that's in health
That's what
and human resources, or what we used to call physician recruitment, yes.
Okay, and is senior safety in that as well?
Senior safety, we also have included now in the public health and welfare services. That number
Thank you.
this year is 64.8.
Thank you. And just wondering, I know we had set aside $15,000 for the accessibility program, working with the Department of Natural Resources. Where does that fit into our budget?
That's on our capital investment plan.
Okay, thank you very much.
So, just to catch up where we were. So the sewer, environmental health, sewer and collection was $1,102,230. So let's get back on track with public health. So public health and welfare is $192,781. Environmental development services, essentially planning services, is $83,000. Industrial parks is $43,028. Other environmental development services is $321,118. So the total for the environmental development category is $447,146. Recreation and culture are next, and that's $720,858. Then we have fiscal services. So in fiscal services, we have debt charges, which is the interest on our debt of $137,785. We have principal payments on the debt budgeted at $269,992. Transfers to other funds is $1,025,000. Conditional transfers to other governments is $3,160,802. And we have an extraordinary or contingency item at the bottom of the budget of $25,000 in the fiscal section. So total fiscal services budget is $4,618,579. So all of those add up to a total expenditure this year in the operating budget of $13,059,072. That would leave us with a small surplus at the end of the year of $17,038. Sorry, $17,378. John.
Go ahead, Deputy Warden. I apologize. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Greg, the principal on the long-term debt, what has changed in there over the last fiscal year?
Arcadia, essentially the only change is Arcadia, the Arcadia sewer system is complete this year. There's no principal payments for 2021.
So that is completely paid off.
That's the only change. The debenture that we're calling for on the Public Works building, that principal will not take effect until 21-22.
Okay, that was the next question on my mouth.
You'll see interest in the interest section on that, but the actual principal payment, but the way it's scheduled with the fall debenture, it won't come into play until spring of next year after this fiscal year is ended.
All right, thank you very much, Greg.
Victoria, you had a question, and Patty?
Yep, so just to Deputy Warden Cunningham's question around the long-term debt. So we are retiring a debenture this year on the LED lights, correct, Greg?
No. Oh, in 2021? I think there's still 2 more years on that. Yeah.
2 more, okay, okay. Yep.
The
And then the
Arcadia's
other piece to note, sorry, Greg, the other piece to note on the transfers to own reserves, that includes our gas tax money coming in and going out. So I had shared with you that we don't have confirmation on our gas tax amount. So we have anticipated it is the same as what it would have been in 2018-19, which was about $500,000. So of that $1 million that we're going to transfer, $1 million is gas tax revenue that will just come in and go right back out to the gas tax reserve.
Okay, and that was part of my question about the transfer to own reserves. So the other 500,000 is just we're taking from the collection, we hope, and putting that into reserves for operating?
Generally speaking, but they tend to be targeted collections, like the rents on our commercial properties in the park, our windmill revenues, for example, designated things like that we can try to put into our capital reserves to help maintain that fund and replace our asset, eventually replace our assets, fund our asset acquisitions.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, through you to the CAO, in regards to the gas tax, has there been any communication with the FCM if there's going to be any changes to that because of the COVID-19 crisis, or has there been no word on that? So are we just assuming that we're going to get the same amount, or the same amount will be transferred, roughly $500,000?
So we're planning. Oh, go ahead, Greg.
No, go ahead. I'm just going to say that is under a multi-year contract, so the amounts are essentially set. So we have not heard anything different, so that's why we're assuming it'll be roughly the same as prior years. But Victoria might have heard more from her channels with FCM.
Well, the only thing would be that the FCM is lobbying heavily for the amounts that we received from the federal government last year, the one-time doubling. The FCM is lobbying heavily to have that become the new normal. Aside from that, because of COVID, there is a lot of lobbying and advocating at the FCM table with the federal government to see infrastructure dollars flow to municipalities. So, with respect to gas tax, it will honor the agreement, but the lobbying and the advocacy is hoping that it will be more. So that's why Greg and I have included the 500,000, the $500,000. because that's what's in the agreement.
Just
Yeah,
for,
and
just for a comfort
I-
level,
I-
I mean, it's essentially it's a net effect on our budget because it's a flow through. So even if a number is off, it's no detriment to our bottom line on our budget, because whatever the real number turns out to be that comes in is the real number that will go back out to the capital reserve fund.
How long was that agreement for the gas tax? When did that expire? Or when's that
So
going to
I think they're
expire?
10 years, and I think it's only 2 or 3 years into the most recent agreement.
So it is 10 years. I, for some reason, only thought it was 3 years.
No, I believe it's 10. I don't have it right in front of me.
All right, no, that's all right, Greg. I'll take your word for it, because I'm just a little concerned that where the federal government is spending a lot of money, they may be looking for other avenues to find that money, and that could be a line item that they were looking at. But I do know that there was an agreement that was signed. I just didn't know how long it was. But we're still in the midst of that agreement as it stands. So thank you very much for that.
Is there any further questions? If not, I have one, Greg. If we could go back to fire protection.
Yes.
And I don't need the numbers for each department, but it was 1.164.
Yes.
A lot of that money is money that comes in from their tax rate or their fire rate, comes in and just goes back out.
That's correct.
Comes in revenue.
And you can see that number on the revenue side.
Yes, I just wanted people to not to think that when they hear that 1.1, that it's money we get. This is from their tax rate, fire rate that they
Correct.
collect.
The
And so
90%
it
of
comes
it,
in,
yes.
and we're just the bank. Bring it in, take it, and then send it back to them, and so on. And the other one that I'm impressed with is roughly it costs us quite a bit less to do the fire dispatch this past year, and so on. And moving forward, I'm impressed. The savings there is great. That was the only thing I just wanted you to explain. It's just fire rate in and back out to them. Go ahead, Victoria.
We do.
So there is an additional expense included in our fire protection that we are putting through the general rate as opposed to area rating, and that is the municipality will be picking up the workers' compensation insurance expense for our volunteer firefighters, and that's happening across the province.
Okay, well, that's another good thing. Was there anything further from councillors on both the revenue and the expenditure side? Okay. So from this, and this is all based on our tax rate as it stands now, right? 118 and 217?
We've done the calculations based on an unchanged rate at this point, yeah.
Okay. So I guess in order.
Chair,
Yeah.
just for one quick second, if council does remember that I voted against sending this forward to budget, and on your suggestion, or sorry, sending it to regular council meeting, on your suggestion, Mr. Chair, I did have a meeting with the CAO and Greg. We did it via telephone, and I got the answers that I was looking for. We dug a little bit deeper into some of the things that I had a lot of questions about, and my answers were satisfied. So I am prepared to support the budget as at this time.
Okay. So I guess at this time, I don't know. I'm not sure. I've been at it for a long time and I'm kind of getting forgetful. Do I need to have a motion to accept the budget as presented, or do we do the tax rate first in order for the budget to? So Victoria, I'm asking you a question, I guess.
Yep. So well, this is my third budget with you, and the first budget I did with you was actually on my first day on the job. So
Yeah.
It was actually Greg. And I was just there to observe. So I think what we do is we call for a motion to approve the capital investment plan, a motion to approve the operating budget, and then based on the budget, that will drive your rates.
Okay. There we have it, councillors. I need a motion to approve the capital plan first. So Trevor, Councillor Cunningham, go ahead.
Right, I'll move that we, the municipality district of Yarmouth, approve the capital, project priorities, for 2021, with a total budget. The plan is outlined at 20,295,500, and our part of it is, municipality district of Yarmouth's part of it is 2,803,500.
Yes. Been moved by Councillor Cunningham. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor Cushion. Was there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary
Aye.
minded? Motion carried. The next one is the operating budget as presented. I need a motion to accept. Who wishes to move that?
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the operations budget as presented.
Can I have the figure, please, for the motion, which was 13, I got it here. 13.
Mr. Chair, I don't have that in front of me at this time because my my laptop computer lost internet.
Okay. Greg, can you state what the budget is, the amount, so it can be read into the minutes?
Certainly, there's two components. The total budgeted operating revenues are $13,076,550.
Yes.
And the total budgeted operating expenditures are $13,059,172.
Okay. Are you fine with that, Deputy Warden?
Yes, Mr. Chair, my apologies.
No, that's understandable. I just wanted them in the motion. That was all. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor Durkee. Was there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Greg, go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Yes, do we need a motion for the transfers to our own reserves, to
No.
capital reserves?
No.
It's in the budget. Okay.
The only thing now is we need a motion to approve the tax rate for both residential and for commercial. And our last year's rate was 118 per 100. Can we do that as one motion, Victoria, or do I need two? We can do that as one motion. Yep,
you can do it as one motion, yep.
Okay.
I was having trouble with my mute button there.
Yeah, no. I just wanted confirmation. So I need a motion to approve both the residential and the commercial rate. So who wishes to do that? Don't all jump at once.
So Greg, I think they're looking for the exact number for the rates.
Right. Do we have a link to that or no?
I think you should read, I was going to suggest, I was waiting to hear the draft motion, but certainly I think you should announce the rates. And if you don't mind too, when you mention residential, you should include resource as well, because the resource rate is the same,
Okay.
it's the same as a residential. So the resource and the residential was 118 per 100, and the commercial is 217 per 100. For whoever the author of the motion is.
Okay, Councillor Trevor Cunningham.
Right, I'll move that the municipality of the District of Yarmouth for the 2021 budget year set its residential and resource land rate at $1.18 per $100 of assessed value, and the corporate rate or the business rate at 2.17 or $2.17 per $100 of assessed value.
It's been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Allen? Seconds that. Was there any further discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I want to be clear. Are those the same rates as the previous year?
To Greg, I know they are, but Greg, can you answer?
Yes, I will answer that, but remember, we still have to read in the fire rates, which are on top of our taxation rates.
Yes, I realize that. Thank you very much. I just wanted to make that point clear, crystal clear.
Okay. Councillor Durkee, do you have a question?
My question was answered.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion on the rates, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Just a second, moving down here. $11.3, budget review for September 2020. I'm not familiar with what was that to be, Victoria? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, so when council first began the budget process, we were early in the stages of COVID-19, and we were really unsure what the financial impact of the pandemic would be in our community. Excuse me. So it was my understanding that council's direction on the budget for this particular year was that we would be sure to do a regular review. So what you had directed me to do was to include discussion on the agenda around a motion to require a formal review in September, with the idea that if the effects of the pandemic are such financially on our community that things are not as Greg and I anticipate and presented to you this evening, that council would make amendments to the finance plan accordingly. So what's in order, if that's still your wishes, is a motion to review the operating budget in September.
Okay. So we understand what the CAO has just stated. I would be looking for a motion then for a
So
September.
I'll make that motion to review the operating budget in September of 2020.
Okay. Is there a seconder to the motion? Going once. Seconded by Councillor Trevor Cunningham. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Minded? Motion carried. Did we not approve the capital budget?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. 11.5, the approval of the fire department's reports and rates for 2020, 2021. You had that in your package. Some of the reports were there, some of them weren't. The rates were there. What is the wishes of council? And we need as CAO stated, we need the approval of the fire rates. Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
Could we kindly have the rates for those departments that have not sent in any reports? So could we have a review of all the rates, please?
I don't know who can answer that one, Victoria or Greg?
No, I think Greg's prepared.
Okay.
I can provide you with the rates that are determined for this year. I think there's three, I don't have them all in front of me. There's 3 or 4 of the departments that have reported. The others, the rates remain unchanged once our budget is set. So I'll just read them off. F1 is 11 cents per hundred. F2 is 14 cents per hundred. F3 is 16 cents. F4 is 17 cents. F5 is 15 cents. F6 is 8 cents per hundred, and F7 is 11 cents.
Okay. Councillor Cunningham.
Right, I'll move that the municipality of District of Yarmouth approve the fire rates as read.
Okay, I guess if you don't mind, I'm going to ask the question to Liz. She can nod her head. Did you get all those rates, or is that something you can get? Thank you. Okay. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Durkee. Moved by Councillor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Durkee. Was there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. 11.6, approval of the sewer rates for 2020, 2021. You have that also in your package. Hebron, Dayton, Port Maitland, South Ohio, and Arcadia. I need a motion to approve as presented? It is the wishes of council. Or is there questions? Okay, everything is bouncing here on my screen. They have 3 hands up all at once. Trevor, Patty, and Daniel. Okay, who wants to, Trevor, go first.
Yeah, I'm just going to suggest that our Director of Finance read out the rates for us, and we can pass a motion in a similar manner to the fire rates.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the sewer rates for the year, they will remain unchanged as well. So for all of the 4 sewer districts, the rate is $328.65 per unit, which is an equivalent to $82.60 per unit per quarter.
And that's, the municipality moved a long time ago. All of the rates are the same for all of the districts, or for all of them, right?
They have been since in the time that I've been here, yes.
Yes. So, you know the rate. Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham, excuse me.
So I'll move that the Municipality District of Yarmouth approve the sewer rates as read for the 2021 budget year.
Okay, been moved by Councillor Cunningham. Do we have seconded by Councillor Allen? Was there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. $11.7, due date for taxes and interest rates for July 31st, 2020. I guess I'm going to hand that off to Victoria. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So typically our taxes on the tax bill, the due date reads June 30th. I'm recommending that the due date read July 31st this year. And interest normally would accumulate at your approved interest rate of 18% per annum. And I am recommending that on the taxes, you leave the interest rate in place for July 31st. I did a quick peek on the receivables and we are on par. Our receivables do not appear to be affected by COVID-19. And given the data that we saw in the development report, it appears as that our region has not been as financially impacted by COVID-19 as maybe some other areas are. And I know for the June Committee of the Whole, we're going to discuss a possible tax finance policy. So I would recommend that our regular process for our tax levy remain unchanged, with the exception of changing the due date from June 30th to July 31st.
Okay, you've heard that. Is there any discussion? If I may, if nobody else has any discussion, the interest rate to July 31st, and you say everything is on par and so on. And I know a lot of other municipal units, or I say I know, I don't know personally, but I know a lot of the other municipal units are working at trying to help wherever they can. And our municipal unit council has worked very diligently wherever we can to help. We've tried to do that. And I'm wondering, I have no issues, for the tax, July 31st. And I understand that, you can't put the interest rate on today and not have it on there until next month and so on. To the CAO, is there anything that we could do to, and I'm going to use the word, to sweeten the pie without not having the pie plate to cook it in? I guess what I'm saying is there anything else that we can do? July 31st for me is fine. That's extending it from June to July 30th. Is there anything else that we could do to just, I'll say, help the situation to make it a little better, to make people feel as though they're getting something or receiving something else? It's like.
So we've already given 90 days of interest relief. You're going to extend your due date by another 30 days, and you're contemplating a policy which would provide relief where relief can be demonstrated as a need. So it's quite a package of supports in addition to what we've been doing collectively through the economic development activities. So our EDO has been giving concierge level service to businesses,
Yes.
helping make sure they access all the programs they can access and get information where information is needed. Our senior safety coordinator has gone above and beyond, and we have reached out to the seniors to make sure they can access services. We've taken care packages and comfort packages to them. We're not receiving telephone calls or emails from those who would be residential property owners who don't fit in categories I've already described in terms of, they're feeling duress or they're feeling like the municipal issues are things that they need help with. So I'm feeling comfortable that the process we've undertaken seems to be appropriate because we're not hearing negatively that it isn't.
Okay, and I'm fine with that. I guess I just wanted to ask a question. I knew we were doing a lot of things. The other thing, because of COVID and so on, is it out on our web page and so on? People can make payments at any one of the chartered banks in town. Like if I can't go to the municipal office, I can go into the Royal Bank and pay my tax bill at the Royal Bank and so on. So those are all things that are out there. So I think some seniors who used to come, because I've been there in years past, they diligently come into the office and they make their payment. It's like, I'm paying you, it's done. But they can do that at chartered banks and so on, right?
And in fact, yes, yep. And in fact, our prepaid taxes are higher this year than they were last year.
Okay, I just wanted, because I know some seniors in my area have kind of asked, well, how can I pay my bills? You're not open up there and, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, they can mail it, but some people just, I want that receipt.
Yep.
I want that in my hand.
Yep. So what the warden is referring to is not online or telephone banking, but at the wicket, at the bank. Ratepayers can pay their tax bill right there and the bank will forward us the money.
Yeah, okay. I'm fine with that. So was there any other questions or concerns on that? So I do need a motion. Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that the municipality district of Yarmouth move its due date for taxes from June 30th, 2020 to July 31st, 2020 for this year.
Okay, been moved by Councillor Cunningham. Do we have a second? Seconded by Councillor Allen. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded. Motion carried. Can I ask a question? All I have is Councillor Gerard LeBlanc on?
He is. He can hear us, and I have recorded in the chat his the results of his voting, and he's got aye.
Okay.
Yes, he answered you, Leland. He wrote yes. Patty, he answered your question about the survey. He said no. So, yep.
No,
and because we're recording, we'll have it in the record.
Okay, I just wanted to, I see his name here on the screen, but I haven't heard him say anything. Okay, I'm fine. Item number 12. 12.1, approval of a temporary borrowing resolution for 2020-2021. Municipality has always done this, so I'm looking for a motion or a resolution to approve. Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
I'll make the motion to approve the temporary borrowing resolution of 2020-2021.
Of the amount, please. Up to
$750,000.
Thank you.
Okay. That's your motion?
You got it.
Yes, okay. Seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion on that? Councillor Deputy Warden, go ahead. You're muted, Deputy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. This is a question for either the CAO or the Director of Finance. Have we ever used that temporary borrowing resolution? I already know the answer to this question, but.
No, we have not, but it is one of the important documents that are required also that leads up to our debenture process.
Yes, thank you very much. I just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any further questions? Moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor Allen. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. 12.2, resolution of council, Public Works Building debenture. You have that in your package. What is the wishes? It was for a resolution of, or for a debenture of up to 5.
So it's, if I can, Mr. Warden, so council had approved the temporary borrowing resolution, which would have allowed us to borrow $500,000 for bridge financing to build the building, but we already had it built. But the Minister of Municipal Affairs has to approve that temporary borrowing resolution, which is required in order to be part of the debenture issue. So this document is actually for the debenture. So that's the next step in the process to create the mortgage on the property. So it's for $500,000, Mr. Warden.
So would that be through a resolution form or just a motion to?
A motion on that resolution.
Okay. So you heard from the CAO. Does somebody wish to make that a motion on the debenture? I'm looking, I'm not seeing.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution for pre-approval of a debenture in the amount of $500,000.
No. Well, was it for 500 or up to? There's a difference.
It's for 500,000.
Okay, I apologize. So that's your motion up to 500,000. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Seconded by Councillor Durkee. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Motion carried. .3 reduction of property taxes for property damaged by fire or storm policy. You had that in your package. Read that. What is the wishes of council? It was for fire in, I think, District 1. What's the wishes of council? I need a motion to approve. It's not for a large sum. The rebate of what, $57, I think, something of that nature.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. Councillor Durkee, you're making that a motion?
I'll make that a motion
Okay.
to approve the reduction of property taxes for property damaged by fire or storm policy for PID number, I just saw it here, 285665.
I know our executive assistant, she'll have that down. Victoria, go ahead.
Just a point of clarification that it's not the PID number that was referenced, it's the assessment account number.
Okay.
So, sorry, Councillor Durkee, but just in case anybody's trying to cross-reference.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
They do some looking. Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Durkee. Do we have a seconder?
I have a question. I
Go
have a
ahead.
question first. Do we need the policy number under which we're doing this?
Yes.
So did you get that, Pat?
You can amend my motion to include application of policy R-002-03. Thank you, Councillor Allen.
And I will second that.
Okay, moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor Allen. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you, Councillor. 12.4, septic loan program. That was in your package also. CAO, go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. And I'll start, and Councillor Durkee may add or take away from what I'm going to share. So we received an inquiry from a resident wondering about the municipality's program to lend money to residents who needed or wanted to fix their septic system and build a new septic system. So this particular privilege in the MGA was embedded in the whole series of revisions to the MGA last year, which opened up council's authority to spend. And I had never brought this forward. In fact, it was something that I hadn't even picked up on, which was new. And when council reviewed those changes to the MGA, and Greg and I did the presentation to council, it was agreed by council that what we needed was a finance policy, which would help guide council in these new powers and authorities it has to spend money. And so Greg and I are working on that finance policy, but it is not obviously approved and it's not ready to bring to committee the whole. And so my recommendation at that point was, and continues to be, that the council refrain from offering any new finance programs or lending programs until that policy is in place.
Okay. Over with that. Was there any, because I had some concerns. Is there any further discussion or questions to the CAO on that? As it stands at this moment, I don't know where my fellow councilors feel on it. We have the well, for helping people with their wells and so on. I have no issues with this on the septic also, but there has to be as they say, a line drawn in the sand somewhere. And so you guys are working on something. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Right. So the municipality actually has quite a few lending programs. We lend to fire departments for capital. We give to community groups for capital. We lend for property assessed clean energy upgrades. We lend for well water drinking. And so, the finance policy is going to guide not just your lending, but, your powers to spend overall. And so I think at the time you had asked for that. And so I'm just reminding you of what you had asked for.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Durkee, go ahead.
Thank you. So you are creating a policy that may or may not include the septic at this point. So that's just for future discussion, just for clarification, please.
Yes, sure. So the finance policy would speak broadly about the financial goals of the municipality and would bring to council considerations around ceilings on overall lending, ceilings on overall spending, ceilings on overall borrowing, all of those sorts of things. Because your powers to spend money are open wide now, the feeling of council and obviously your CAO and your director of finance is we have to create some guideposts now, where before you were only allowed to spend money on things that were included in the MGA. Now you can spend money on anything. And so the feeling was you needed a policy to guide that new power and that new freedom. So I'm not saying that this isn't something worthwhile for considering, and certainly, it could be needed. But I'm saying that until your finance policy is reviewed and debated and approved, you should refrain from opening up any new programs.
Okay, but this is still available for consideration.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Was there any further discussion on that? I guess then at this time, the next item on our agenda was an in-camera, and I see that there is some items for in-camera. So at this time, I'm trying to think, well, I guess everybody that's on stays on, do they not?
Nope.
Who do I see that goes? Just Greg?
We'll excuse Mr. Shea.
Yeah,
So
Greg.
do you need a motion to go into camera?
Yes, I will.
We
just-
do, yeah. We're going to be a little while, Mr. Chairman, so I don't know, do you want a 5-minute recess? We're going to be a little while. It's up to you.
I would think, yeah, maximum of 5 minutes, because we will have some serious discussion in your in-camera. You better be, so if you want to go get a coffee, get a drink of water, whatever, now's your chance to do it, so.
I think we need a motion, Mr. Chair, to
Yes.
recess for 5 minutes.
Okay. So can I have a motion to recess for 5 minutes? Moved by
I'll make-
Daniel, seconded by Lauren. Favor, aye. Just call the meeting back to order. Can we have a motion to in camera?
I'll make a motion for us to go into camera.
Made by a motion by Daniel, Councillor Allen. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Cushion seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Reminded. Motion carried. Thank you. No consensus. Okay, back into regular council. There's no motions to, oh, yes. We need a motion to do the two. We don't? No? And nothing on the airport. Okay. Then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
I'll move adjourn.
God, maybe that was quick. 4 of you. Moved by Trevor, seconded by Daniel. Y'all have a good week.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good week, everybody.
Okay, bye for now.
Thank you.